Welcome to Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. Backed by popular demand is the intrepid Drake Bailey for another question and answer session. You may want to make some popcorn and buckle your seatbelt. This one will be another wild ride. Here is your host Gail of Gaia with her guest Drake Bailey.
Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia on Free Range, and we're here this week again with Drake Bailey. Hi, Drake. How are you doing?
I'll be finers. I got some good news and some bad news and all kind of fun and games going on.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll be more than happy to hear what you have to say. Is this geopolitical update or is it galactic?
Well, this is not exactly political. This is more policy and trade. We have agreed with China to a temporary tentative agreement on trade. Now that is something that ought to register on the Richter scale. That's only part of it. The second part is the bad news comes from the European Union. The European Central Bank has 0% interest rates and is looking to go negative. What that means is when you deposit money in the bank, they charge you 1% or whatever it is. Think about that very carefully. Yeah, charge you to make a deposit. Well, here's the other thing. Then somebody says that we should have negative interest rates here. The problem with all of this is that interest rates do not control the economy in general, period. Uh-oh, I just got a note from Dean. Anyway, that situation should not happen here. The Fed should stand pat with the 2% that they got now. Just leave it alone. Oh, everybody else is getting an advantage. Well, if you want to devalue the dollar, that can be done, and that would give us a little bit more leverage in terms of the, how can I express this, disparity between foreign countries that are trying to export to us and their goods being cheaper. If we devalue the dollar a bit, that would loosen up a whole bunch of things. With a very low interest rate of 2% and pay it back when you feel like you want to, that puts us in a catbird seat pretty much. Number three is that, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Bolton's gone.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. Very few people know the real reason that he's gone. Yes, he disagreed in policy and whatnot with the present administration, including President Trump. But he kept mouthing off about bomb Iran back into the Stone Age. That was a nice little blurb from back in the days of Vietnam. But he was requested officially by President Trump not to say that sort of thing anymore.
He's a war hawk. That's what he was.
Well, he turned around and did it 3 more times. The third time the next day, bye. So, and the
Trump did that.
Cabinet people, here's the deal. The cabinet people, or the people that directly advise the president, are to be made up of the old adage of walk softly but carry a big stick. Okay. Mm-hmm. Iran has yet to learn how big the stick is, but they're beginning to get the message. Okay. I have advocated, similar to what Bolton advocated, to take military action where military action was due. Now, that means very simply that when they decide they want to play chicken with their little speedboats, maybe we need to contact Iran and tell them to cut the shit. Sorry for the expletive, but and they're going to right back at us and tell them in the process of this notification, very simply, we see more speedboats harassing our military craft, we're going to start sinking them. That would be an act of war. Well, your bullshit of interdicting international oil traffic is an act of war against everybody, and they don't get it. Well, tough. My stipulation is that you decide to start something, you better have the battleship rear end to back it up, and they don't. So they would probably screw up and open fire on our military ships. The correct response would be, and I'm not talking about starting a war, I'm talking about straight up interdiction in its finest form. The correct response would be to launch some of our fighter jets with the biggest bombs we got and take out part of their harbor. Ooh. They launch their Air Force, we shoot them all down. I mean, you want to start something, you best have what it takes to back it up. China, big as they are, Russia, big as they are, they don't want to take on the United States. They know that it would be ludicrous. Therefore, our position would be simple. And I'm not talking about overreacting and carpet bombing and crazy crap. I'm talking about very selective hits. In other words, these little boats got to be anchored somewhere. Well, now, what would happen if somebody went over that thing with a fighter bomber and dropped what they call a multi-bomb? That's the one that sends out them little things that go boom. What would happen? Well, you'd sink 90% of the fun and games right off the top. Secondly, you would put out of operation a majority of the capability to support those little boats. Now, that's just my take. I am not nice about some things, okay? An example of that is Al-Qaeda decided to kill a bunch of people, including one of our soldiers. Trump said, forget you. And what that means is not going to be nice for Al-Qaeda or some of these other podunk operations that think they're in charge. Yeah. Very simply, nobody runs me off my front porch. That just don't happen. The second part of that is we have what is known as the free right to travel, okay, as a travel law. That's not an operator, driver, etc. It is a person traveling the King's Highway. Okay, this same law is accepted in terms of international trade routes. And Iran is screwing with the major international oil trade route. Whatever company, the country or company or whatever the ship is flagged under shouldn't make that much difference. But that's just that part of it. As far as upstairs goes, holy moly, did we have a fight last night.
Really?
Oh, I had sore muscles like you wouldn't believe this morning. My bones hurt. They still do. Well,
what happened?
There are certain factions, groups, beliefs, and ETs that are squirrely who think that the idea of armed conquest against the Keystone planet is a good idea. They didn't even get into the solar system. And 90% of them were wiped out. The other 10%, half of them are going to have to assist the other half just to be able to breathe. Now, whether they can get home or not, we don't care. You can starve to death in space. That's fine with us. But you will not come in here as a military force and take over. Won't happen. They found out that there were about 20 million fighters upstairs, and they found out the hard way. It's called slice and dice. I know you've seen dominoes. You can knock one over and all the rest go. Mm-hmm. We didn't take the time and trouble to bother with that. We shot all of them. Every last one of them has at least one bullet hole somewhere in their ship.
Wow.
So you've got maybe out of the estimate was over 2 million ships. Out of that, they have maybe 500, possibly 1,000, and they're all having to assist other ships, transfer people off of it, and all that sort of thing, just to survive. This is not, this wasn't one of them little nice dealies where you wave at each other. It was not that. It was not the case at all.
What group of ETs was this that were invading?
It's a mix. These are pirates primarily. There's about I'm gonna suggest a dozen, give or take, of these planets that have such ETs on them, and not all the people on the planet agree to this stuff, but they go and do what they want to anyway. It's kind of like a dictator. You can't tell what's next, and all that. So what they did was they got together. There's, like I say, I'm suggesting about a dozen planets. We have not decided yet how far we're going to go with this, but I can assure you, we're going to notify these individual planets, the people, the ETs, the occupants, however you want to look at that, of what happened, and that they better put their foot down on these guys' necks and tell them to quit it, or we're going to systematically start popping planets.
Wow.
This, there are some things you don't screw with, and the galactic, along with the universal forces, are not somebody to trifle with. These are warriors that will do what they have to do, only after they're not given any other alternative, no other choice. Oh boy, this light keeps fooling around over there. Quit it, turkey.
Yeah. The benevolent ET, they give them every chance possible. It seems.
Well, they have been given chances before. This is not the first go around with this.
Oh,
And I don't know what it takes in the way of stupidity to understand that you're going to get your butt wiped or wiped out. I don't know what it takes, but that's basically the situation they get to deal with now. If they do not comply, then they won't be. There's going to be a big. There was a planetary explosion in our solar system, left us the Van Allen belt, big rocks and whatnot circulating around up there.
yeah.
Our weapons won't even leave dust, let alone big rocks. There won't be nothing but a big poof. Gone. Sorry about your shit.
Wow.
So, primarily, most ETs are nonviolent. Most of the good guys don't like the idea of having a fight. But when somebody leaves you no alternative, it's time to.
Yeah, like there's always that aspect. No matter how benevolent or peaceful you care to be, there's always people out there that are pirates or that are willing to.
Or our crooks. They think they can do anything they want, and the law will mess with me. Well, that's about to change very quick, very soon. I was surprised how far along they are with the evidentiary procedures that the DOJ works and uses under bar. You remember the Russian deal?
Yeah.
Guess what? They're about to sink some boats. And I don't mean just indictments. I'm talking about indictments with an arrest warrant attached for certain people. Ooh.
Is that will that be happening pretty soon? Where some of these people?
Yeah, it's just right at the edge of happening right now. I don't know. I know when, but I'm not allowed to say, so that the element of surprise is kept.
Understandable.
I would love to see people get taken, arrested, or whatever publicly. Ooh.
Yes, I wonder. Will they make it public or will it be undercover?
You're not gonna see anything until it starts happening.
Oh,
Then they have invited all the news networks, bring your camera.
and that,
So,
but see, since our mass media is not anything reliable as to telling us the truth about anything going on, what is that?
yeah,
What?
this is different. This is something you can't ignore. So you can ignore most of the other, it's just hearsay. It's a rumor. It don't mean nothing. This means something.
Okay, because it'll be some big name people, right?
Exactly. Household name people. People everybody knows. What are you going to do when they come for you? Ooh.
Yes, indeed. I welcome the day to see some justice. There's so much abuse of all
I'm
of it.
pushing hard. Believe me.
I will enjoy it immensely because there's a double standard in.
Yeah, we got questions from people.
We sure do.
Oh, I bet we got a load of them. Wait till they get done listening to this show.
Okay, here's the first one. I'm just going to say this for the sake of others. It says, "Can you ask Greg to make his microphone clearer?" Now, people don't seem to realize that we're not in a studio. We're using your regular equipment that people buy at stores, and
And then we got to deal with a thing called Zoom in between two locations.
exactly.
So if there's a thunderstorm between us and there, oh my goodness! And then we got the distance between us. I live on the East Coast, and she lives in the Western Desert.
Yeah,
You know.
we're doing
Anyway,
the best we can with what we have.
yeah. Well.
Anyway, so let me move on. I have to question, this is the next one. I have to question from Drake from his Saturday show where he talks about large plot owners will be relocated and people will be placed in apartments or small housing. What if these landowners don't want to be relocated? What will happen?
Well, here's the deal. The new manner of living is such that it will not interfere with the ecology. You don't have to cut trees down or dig holes or any of that happy stuff in order to survive. In other words, we don't have to cut all the trees to make boards to build houses. We don't have to suck oil out of the ground to keep us going, or coal or whatever it may be. That differential in and of itself, you're not going to have to be relocated. I would suggest that you're probably going to want to open up the edges of your property, say, as I would, to the probability of access for one of these smaller houses, or a few of them or something. It varies. Now, there are a lot of people in cities who ain't ever run barefoot in the grass.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people that never experienced farm animals, let alone wildlife, up close and personal. And that is going to be changed through several things going on. The communications, now this is something I haven't touched on. The communications is going to change from the ideology of having to have a landline or even a cell phone to what they call a crystalline adaptation. What it operates on is a vibratory. Darn, I can't think of it.
Frequency?
No. It operates on a vibratory principle of resonance with the air. And it doesn't do anything to the air. The air just simply, like I'm talking to you, passes on a signal. The signal in this particular case is a different bunch of notes put together that sounds like a word that you can understand, okay? Same sort of deal, only a much much more highly technological application of speech. So we may not even have to have a device.
Wow.
Well, it depends on how good you are and how much you study and how much you practice as to what you're good at. Real simple. Same thing applies to most of these things that would seem to be advanced. Now, in South America, they have stones that are stuck in the ground. And what's funny about it is they got seats around them. And if you wish to talk to somebody, you simply speak to the stone. And that person is connected. And what's interesting is that they have experimented with a couple of the stone communicators halfway around the world.
Whoa!
And what you do is, there's no what's neat. There ain't nothing but a rock, and you sit there and you talk to it, and the other person that you want to talk to, be they 5,000 miles, 5,000, 6,000 miles away, can hear you just like you and I are talking.
So they just hear you in your head, in their head.
No.
Oh.
They do know that it's physical. They just don't understand how. They don't understand the level. If you take I'll give you an example. You take a crystal about 2.5 inches long, project it to signals from your phone. Watch that Mojammer light up like a Christmas tree. Oh, very small amount of electricity, piezoelectricity, lodestone capability, and correct crystalline structure makes these stones capable of passing verbal commands 20, 30, 100, thousands of miles away. There's a stone wall called the speaking wall. And it's like, I don't know, 8, 10 feet thick.
Wow.
And on one side and whisper, and your buddy on the other side can hear you clearly, just like we're talking. Hey, man, can you hear me? Wow, man, I can hear you.
Wow.
How does that work? Okay. This is it's like the ball court in South America in a certain place. If you speak normally like I'm speaking at one end of it, that exact same thing comes out just as clearly and at the same volume level at the other end. That's over 300 yards. Normally, you'd have to screech like a Democrat at a conservative convention in order to be heard. It's like Pelosi's drinking Pelosi's underwear or something to get the noise loud enough. Is that just as I'm speaking now? It transfers it. Oh boy, I'd sure like to know how. Well, the Romans used a similar part of the same and similar techniques in those open vases that they had that were about varying heights and set on the over by the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody speaking down in the middle of the arena could say, "And all good Romans are here today," and everybody'd hear it just like that. Exactly. They didn't have to get loud.
Wow. Don't need a microphone.
Well, Italy Scotland used infrared communications. Grounded infrared communications apparently are unlimited on this planet. So you have a variety of things going on that just plain, it don't fit no science and it don't fit no reason, but it works. We don't know how.
But it works. That's okay.
There it is. How does your science compensate for those talking stones? We have no idea.
But it works.
Yeah, it ain't the weather nice today.
Okay. This is in addition to the apartments or small housing. It goes on to say, this sounds like something from Agenda 21. Are we following that agenda with these ETs?
Oh, hell no. ET won't have it. ET hates Agenda 21 as much as I do, I think. Agenda 21 includes population reduction and a whole bunch of happy shit that nobody wants to fool with. It's like what the Democrats are putting out right now. All of the people that are involved need to listen to what they're saying. They're talking about taking everything away from you. You ain't going to be able to drive a car. You're not going to be able to heat your house. And shame on you if you eat a cheeseburger. That's a capital offense. Well, they can take it and stick it. I'm not interested in socialism taking away what little rights we got left. And I don't believe too many others are. The people that are complaining and protesting, guess what? You won't get to protest. And if you complain too loudly, they'll lock your butt up.
That's what they don't seem to understand. Socialism, the word socialism sounds all nice and wonderful, but it's really fascism.
Well, it would become that, similar to what's going on in Venezuela.
Or dictatorship or something like that. So,
yeah.
Okay. Are the ETs wanting the people or going to demand them to give up their guns or the Constitution?
No. As a matter of fact, our Constitution will be modified a little bit and presented as the World Constitution. Might bear that in mind. There will be representatives, as I stipulated, from each country and or a small group of them. One representative carries the load of the paperwork, and everybody gets together. Now, how many countries got? 200, okay? And that's just ballpark. It varies, too, from day to day. But the neat part about it is then all of the representatives get together and want to know what they can do specifically to help people that are in need right here on the planet. And as we address that, ET's going to want to talk to us. Okay, here's how it is. You're going to go to a semi or basic galactic meeting, and you're going to see entities there that you ain't seen except in sci-fi movies that are scary. But these are normal, regular, everyday entities, just like you and me are. I mean, you're normal, regular, everyday people, so to speak, except that they also represent a planet. You're liable to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 500-600 people show up. The committee meetings usually run between 200 and 300 people, or entities, or however you want to look at that. The 200 to 300 people get together, and they're usually, the planets are in what they consider close proximity to Earth. Okay, we got probably 30, 35, 40 of them in what they call close proximity. That means that you don't have to travel in interstellar conditions to go from that planet to Earth. And when you fold space-time, it only takes a few minutes anyway. So
that's so cool.
That will be the first meeting, the small one. And everybody's going to exchange ideas and what do we do about this, what do we do about that, and how to handle problems, and I'm talking geophysical problems of planets or nearby orbiting things, etc. What do we do with that? It's a big learning experience. Express the ideas, and then they have the science councils, and those science councils are handled by an entity that I know fairly well called Lucor. He's the chief science officer upstairs. And he would let the differing I don't know what you call them, technical scientists take care of problems. In other words, you don't need volcanic eruptions. Well, turn them off. Okay.
Yeah. I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, it's going to be interesting. And then eventually somebody will, if you are doing the exceptional job that I think will be done, my invitation was predicated on several things. A lot of what I do prevents harm of all kinds, environmental, people, animals, all of it. And I got invited to a galactic meeting, and you ought to see that hall. They presented something similar to it in as the Klingon Great Hall. That is very close to what you find in a Great Hall. Now, what's interesting is somebody says something, everybody can hear it, and it doesn't matter if you're speaking their language or not. It gets translated psychically to their mind as you're speaking in their language. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
So you gotta watch what you're doing, what you say, if you gotta, but the galactic meeting was really informative. And the reason it was more informative than others was that some of the universals came in and expressed that you got to do such and such, you need to do this, and made a nice, interesting trip out of it. Altogether, I spent something along the line of 3 days in those meetings.
Wow.
And the information is true. Check with Dean Chambers. He can tell you something about it. He's been to the meetings or something. And
I'll have to check. I haven't talked to him for a while. Yeah.
Well, because I'm not exactly human, in other words, I volunteered for the civilian project of being inserted as a reincarnate to see what I could do to help. That's basically why I'm here and what I'm doing. Okay?
Yeah, that's awesome. We need
a few more of me, I can tell you that.
This is true. Okay, next question. It starts out, Trudeau is corrupt. We know that. But the RCMP, police and courts, are corrupt and are refusing to prosecute him. Will Trudeau be removed before the 2019 election?
I'm hoping that enough people get together and start putting out political videos that's showing his corruption. Show the RCMP corruption. Put it together. You make it into a cartoon. Doesn't matter. The presentation is what gets it. Okay, and if everybody can look at it at any educational level and get what's going on, then you have something to work with. Otherwise, you're not quite hitting the nail on the head. So instead of making hammer tracks on the board, you want to hit the nail on the head. You hit that nail on the head, and it will resonate with a whole bunch of people. And just kind of play it carefully and close to the vest, and go for it.
Yeah, it's people need to band together more than they have about some of these things. It's a lot of talk, but we need more action.
Yeah.
Liberals and conservatives are still following the United Nations Agenda 21, and we have open borders. Canada has ISIS plants, and I'm wondering if the USA will do something about it. The USA hasn't done anything about the ones that we have here.
Exactly. Now, that's beginning to get ready to be rectified. People are getting ready to take the bull by the horns because the officials won't. Now, I have stipulated this before. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what country. This is global, not just international. This is global laws. If, for any reason, an official does not do what they are tasked to do, in other words, does not perform their job, then the task falls to either the military and or police. If, for any reason, they refuse, then it's we the people. We can have a party for these guys. Get the popcorn out.
That's what we need is we the people, because the police and the others just don't seem to be doing anything either because they're profiting from what they do.
You got it.
So, okay, next question. Will we see or meet the ETs this year and receive the replicators?
It's supposed to be this year. We'll have to wait and see. There seems to be some holdups of different types, and yet they're dealing with those holdups real succinctly. They're not letting any details slide. They're not giving nobody any wiggle room, and so supposedly, and it'll be toward the end of the year, as I get it. Supposedly, we'll have what they call limited disclosure. You're not going to have full disclosure until we get into fifth density. That's after a while. We go through fourth density, learn what we need to know. Then we transition to fifth density. Okay. We get into the fifth density, then a whole bunch of things start coming to you, okay, as information in varying ways. When we get ready to transition from 5 to 6, which is six is our next long-term destination, things even change more and get better. It's going to be fun. Get out the popcorn, like I said.
We need to get better, that's for sure. And you know what? I just read something. You want to make sure that that's not microwave popcorn. We're talking about the chemicals in that.
No.
Damage. Yeah. That's what I read.
Nobody in their right mind should eat that stuff if you want to keep your mind.
Exactly.
There's a whole bunch of stuff in that you don't, that ain't fit for consumption by living things, let alone people.
Yeah, it's like make popcorn the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, well, I use an air popper.
Or an air popper, that's even better.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, then if you wanted to put a little butter on it or whatever.
I always put butter on my hot dog.
No, it's not hardly the same without it, is it?
That's like mustard on a hot dog.
But that's what's better when you use an air popper, because then you don't have the fat from, doing it the other way, and you can add the butter without making it.
I kind of like greasy popcorn. That's why I put butter on
it. Okay, will there be debt relief for Americans and Canadians this year?
Will there be who?
Will there be debt relief? The debt that has been created by all our politicians.
Hold on. Debt relief will be taken up in 4D. We're supposed to transition to that. Now, when exactly in 4D, I'm not sure. However, I can tell you this. Unless you are really good at it, I would, at noting time, my suggestion is this. Keep the Gregorian calendar that we've got and mark off the days and keep a record of it. You're liable to find that we might be in 4D for 5-6 years, and then all of a sudden all the ETs show up. You never know how this is going to work exactly. Now, some of the instructors will look just as human as I do, or Gail, and the differential will be that they are ETs. Now, here's the fun part. We are almost all ETs.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I know that one.
Yeah. So anyway, the crux of it is debt relief goes to the economic system, and that economic system is already failing. So they're going to have to come up with something else. I know what ET is going to recommend, so we'll see about the debit or what do they call that? Chargeable charge card kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That may be the offset for cash and whatnot. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. Well, based on that information, is there any information on the collateral accounts?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I have a thing that when I first started Cosmic Voice, it's called the Weight Club, and anybody wants to join can. I'm tired of the Weight Club. Well, won't you get in touch with Neil and tell him hurry up, see what he says to you. Get out of here. What's wrong with you people? Well, anyway, there's been some interference, and that interference is being seen too. And when that's done, then the collateral accounts will be open. We're looking at, I don't know, possibly the end of this month, maybe sooner. We'll see.
Well, alrighty then. People need relief. I can't tell you how many people I know that are going through some pretty difficult, stressful, financial and otherwise problems. People are crying for relief.
I know. I'm out of coffee. Shucks.
Uh-oh. Okay, here's the next question. What is the name of the race of ETs who changed the DNA of Neanderthals and combined them with their own DNA?
Well, several have done that. It's not just one. There's several of them. One's the insectoids. They borrowed some. The Palladians did the same. Let's see here. The tall whites, the tall grays, tall greens, short greens, short grays. It just about everybody has sucked something around off of us. Whether I don't know if it's flakes of skin, dead skin or what, but It's kind of funny. What ET wants to do is have the capability of a human being. Humans are, I don't know, generally considered some form of disease so that they can lord it over us. Well, the problem with that is that we're one of the very rare races of individuals who can do a whole lot more than ET. And ET wants a bite of the apple. It's real simple.
But we have been suppressed in such a way that we're not using that. Isn't that correct?
You got it. They wanted to suppress it so that they could let it bottle up, you know, and get bigger and bigger. You only put so much air in a balloon before it goes, right? Okay, let's getting in a realistic format. Some of the ETs feed off of loosh. Loosh is created by stress, strain, pain, angst, any of the so-called negatives. They're not really negatives if they're applied correctly, but this is why people have been dumbed down. One of the main reasons. Number two, they don't want you to have a long life span simply because during that long lifespan, you're going to learn about this and you're going to go, hey, ET, forget you. And those are only certain specific and very minor in number ETs, but there are other forms of what's called vampirism. There's a race that is vampirical, and what they do is they attach themselves, endear themselves, and get close to you, and then reach out and snatch your battery out. They go and suck up all your energy, and you just shrivel up and blow away into dust. Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
You think that all ETs are nice? Not quite. Then you got the ones that like to eat us. They think we taste good, raw. And they like to hear you scream and holler about getting somebody taking a bite out of you. Wonderful people. Okay. The group that we fought wanted to absolutely, totally enslave and completely and totally rape the planet. That's the group we fought last night.
So the pirates from that group back.
They didn't do worth shit, let alone any good at all. And we decided to leave some of them alive so that they could take the message back to their planet. Very simple. You got a choice. Nice little Godfather choice. Cut the shit or vaporize you and your planet and everybody on it. No big deal. But I like that. I love that Godfather deal that they do.
Wow.
Just love it.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
We covered that. Please ask Drake about Meniere's disease.
About who?
Meniere's disease. It's
what about it?
Comprised of tinnitus, vertigo, and loss of hearing. It's very debilitating. Do you know of any cures or?
Yeah. I would get with I would see whether or not you can find and contact an apothecary in China. That's the best way to get a hold of the supplements necessary to attend to that. And they do work. Okay?
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, they use much more herbal medicine in China than they do here. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it works. Same with homeopathy.
Yeah.
It works. But people, our medical profession has kept that from people. Okay. Also, please ask if the Earth is a ball. Why is NASA footage of Earth all doctored? And why does each Earth picture from NASA over the years have different shaped landscapes?
It doesn't exactly. With all living entities there and non-entities at the same time, there are what are called echoes. This can be a sound, picture, visual take on things. Anyway, it's an echo. Not necessarily what it is, but what somebody wants it to be. This is where I told you that enough people imagine that, we got a blizzard coming. Oh my goodness. Well, it starts out a little simple storm, right? it's maybe snowing a quarter of an inch, and all of a sudden now we got 4 foot. Oh, how'd that happen? Well, real simple. If you take your reality and adjust it according to what you're told, you're going to end up with the end of the world. Oh, we're all going to die. One of them numbers. Well, instead of that, or in lieu of it, look at the reality. We are generally a sphere. All right, circle. Okay, you take that circle and spin it, and it starts flattening out on the ends a little bit, and becomes more like a donut than a true sphere. That's the equator. Okay, each end of the planet is one pole of a battery. Ooh, yeah. The northern lights are evidence of the recharge, as an example, and that's only part of it. There's a lot more to it. And you have to know which direction the planetary flux moves in order to be able to capture it. I suggest that you read Edley Scown's books on the subject. He expresses it very, very well. Okay?
Okay. Then this other one is the Earth a 3D holographic matrix realm being projected here?
No.
I didn't think so. How could that be?
We might be held in what's called a transitional or transit matrix, which means that you couldn't tell if it was what was going on. You just in there. Whole lot of fun. Oh, I remember Neo. Looked at this place. I remember that place. I used to eat there. They got really good noodles. That's all matrix bullshit. All imaginary. Well, your imagination is only limited by its own limits. What can you imagine? What can you perceive? How would you like things to be? How about everybody being taken care of? How about it? And by that, I mean place to live, food to eat, whatever. Okay. How about we see to these really poor places that don't see any other alternative than a gun? Well, maybe if everybody had food to eat, maybe if everybody had what they needed at the very least, a lot of these problems could be taken care of. Now, there are problems that are going to have to be dealt with directly. There's several groups on this planet that are going to be wiped out. That's their alternative. Comply or die, join or die. Well, there it is.
Because they're not very nice, are they?
Oh, no, they're pretty nasty.
They don't have other people's interests in mind. They only have their own interests in mind.
Or gratification at that point, whatever it may be.
Yeah, if everybody was thinking like you had just said, that would be such an amazing thing that could happen. People don't realize.
If everybody's supplied with food, water, clothes, place to live, what else do you need? Oh, I want money. For what?
Yeah, exactly. Imagine the creativity that would come out of that. You know, when your basic needs are all satisfied, people can come up with tremendous things, wonderful things.
Yep.
Okay, next question. I have to ask if the map, I don't have a copy of the map with me, that Kent shared is real. He said it's a 4D on the other side of a ice wall. Why haven't we been allowed past the ice wall? Or does it need to be cleared off first?
We get the idea of an ice wall, and think of it in terms of a veil. And the veil is this particular veil is extraordinary. It's a force field, but there's several involved in it. And it is impenetrable by people who are not adept. You have to become adept. You also have to become acceptable and accepting of certain laws that'll be given to you at the time that you're ready to pass through it. Oh. Now, passing through the veil is the same thing that we destroyed. Let's see here. We finished destroying it January of this year. So what you have to understand is that this matrix, and this was a specifically controlling and confining matrix, is now gone. By that, I mean it was not only turned off, but also dismantled in its physical sense. Therefore, for the very first time, mankind will find himself free at the right point in time, and the right, after we transition to 4D, there's going to be a lot of people that think they know what they're doing, and they're going to crash, they're going to bust their whatever's trying to go through that thing because they haven't finished their classes yet. When you're done with your classes, then you will be shown how to pass through the veil. Until that time, we're kind of stuck. But I don't know.
The picture where, there was the ice wall, and then on the other side of the ice wall were other areas like, I don't want to say planet, but land masses.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Not exactly correct, but it's there anyway.
Okay. Who were the next? Did you have more to say?
No.
Okay. Who were the Adenauer, Adenauer? I'm not sure I spell that right, or say it right. That built the megaliths, the ancient Eastern USA mounds, and complex stone sites. Were these people 7 to 10 feet tall, like the news articles report, and did the Smithsonian's hide their skeletons?
Well, now, let's get down to the place where the rubber meets the road. Guess what? First, nobody knows the name of that particular race of beings. Number two, the ancient builders set it up in such a manner that only after we get to 5D, not 4, 5D, will we understand, will we be given the records necessary to understand who the ancient builders are. Okay? Now, here's the other part. Nobody, to include ET, except at extraordinarily high levels, is allowed to have any conversation with the ancient builders. Period. You just have to get over yourself.
Wow. Okay, I have heard there are 3 different currency baskets for the global currency reset. Is this true? And if so, what countries are in the first basket? And how do they qualify to be in the basket?
Well, first of all, yeah, it's basket. Secondly, there is no generalized order of baskets. Okay, these baskets are going to be partially determined, and I'm talking about the limitations of each basket for each country is going to be partially determined before anybody decides anything. So you have then to figure out the specifics or details of each basket. What you're going to end up with is baskets or currencies, or however you want to look at that, a valuation that primarily levels the playing field. In other words, America will no longer be able to exert control because of this, that, or the other thing. There will be no reserve currency. Ooh. And a whole bunch of things are coming about to change. This is not something that very, very many have agreed to or agreed with. I have talked to some of the top so-called professional financiers, and they're not sure what to do with it. So I gave them a couple of little hints. I said, try this direction or that direction. And I've had a couple of them get back and go, wow, man, why don't you tell everybody about that? I said, because it's better when a person has that aha light bulb go off. Never forget it.
Okay, next question. What exactly are the collateral accounts you talk about, and how will the release of these accounts affect humanity?
Well, let's say that all poverty will be eliminated. That's a starter. Secondly, all humanitarian projects of any type and order that are beneficial to people will be funded. I mean, it just goes, and you know, it cascades from there right down the line. There are thousands of things that need to be done that have not been done, primarily because Let's say the city of New York doesn't have the money to replace their bridges or fix them up. They ain't got the money. If they sold they got all the cash together, every last bit of it, wouldn't be enough money. Okay, these are the kinds of things that will assist in our advancement and betterment. That's what the basis of this is. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like for example, for myself, if there was certain equipment that I could afford or software that I could afford, I would have a healing clinic myself to help people that with different nutrition related things and stuff of that nature. Biofeedback, healing computers, whatever. But if you don't have the resources, you can't do it.
Exactly. Now, what happens if somebody offers certain people, and I'm not talking about everybody, a healing computer, or a med bed, or whatever it is, whatever floats your boat. You can put you can lay a mattress on the ground, have somebody lay down on it, and put the healing computer all the way around that thing, call it a med bed if you wanted.
That's the concept of those healing computers.
What I'm saying is, and it's to certain people, how many people do you know need this kind of help? Wow. How many people, I'll try this, how many people in varying countries, even Central or South America, need food? Think about it. It's not difficult when you get into it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And that would be such a welcome thing to happen. It just would be. Well, we could have happiness permeate the planet rather than fear and destruction.
Yeah.
Okay. Some are recommending getting into cryptocurrency. There seems to be a few different opinions out there. What is your opinion on the cryptocurrency?
The main problem with it is the combination of two things. First of all, it is not well protected. None of them are. Okay. In other words, people can abscond with it. Number two, they have had real serious problems with stability. Mm-hmm. Once they fix those, I might be interested. Until they do, I'm not. Pretty simple.
Okay. I don't know why that. I am full of nano, and I can't. That's kind of weird. There had to have been something else listed there, but they're wondering about getting rid of nanotech.
You don't need to get rid of nanotech. You need to probably need to have it redirected. Now it will be offered. You'll have certain offerings from the highest level techs from ET who will offer to remove adverse nanotechnology, chips, implants, etc. There's a lot of people that have things in them that shouldn't be there. Those things will be removed, or at least there'll be an offer to remove it. Now, the other part is that you do have some that's doing you some good. You may not realize it. And in the process of it working, you may end up with things like a nosebleed or a headache or a variety of different possible adverse conditions. Okay?
It's kind of a readjustment period, I would think.
Yeah, well, they can go in when ET gets here. Stupid shirt's grabbing me. When ET gets here, these things will be checked. Anybody has any questions or problems with it, they'll be the first to have an ET come and have tea with them. We'll go from there.
Okay, this was just a statement, and you can respond to it however you choose. It says you talk about the law as if it would be if the courts followed the law. They do not.
Yeah, I agree.
They're supposed to, but they don't.
Well, there's a large number, and this is going to be a shock to the social system, but there's a large number of a combination of people that are going to go, to include differing types and levels of law enforcement, judges, courts. There's a lot of things that are going to be as such reset in such a manner that it fully benefits the people as it was designed to do in the first place.
Yeah, which it doesn't, because it's just been going on status quo and not doing what it should for the people at all.
Or just doing whatever they feel like they want to do at the time.
Exactly. Let's see. Can you please elaborate on what will happen to smokers? Will the addiction be taken care of, or do we need to quit to go to 4D and beyond?
What would happen to who?
Will the addiction to smoking be taken care of, or do you need to quit before we go to 4D?
No, those things would be directly physically addressed at the point of disclosure.
Okay. That's funny, because I know I used to smoke cigarettes many years ago, and I probably tried to stop about 6 times at least.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the worst thing you can ever do is think you can bum one cigarette and you'll be okay, because before long you'll be back to where you were.
Away. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, so much for that. So that'll be taken care of. It goes on to say about how difficult it is, and it is difficult. I don't care who you are, it's difficult. The U.S. Navy, is it true the U.S. Navy are creating earthquakes and bursting methane bubbles with sonic waves?
No, this is a rogue faction of the military. They haven't quite caught up with you. When they do, they're going to sink them in the boats and see whether or not they can swim to shore. However far out in the woods they are, doesn't matter. You get to deal with the sharks and sea monsters, and I hope you can. It's only 10 miles, man.
Okay, I got a question on that though. What about some of the sailors that are on there that are, they're just doing what they're told to do, or they get put in the brig? So,
no. I covered that a long time ago on a show that was requested by the Pentagon on Cosmic Voice, and it was called Lawful and Unlawful Orders. Every military person on the planet heard that. Seriously, there were, I don't know, a couple million hits on that show. Awesome. Okay, now, here's the deal. They know who is who, right? Okay. They will pick up the ones that don't deserve to be eaten by sharks.
Okay, good.
They don't know who they are.
They can read your energy signature.
Yeah.
Okay. About Earth, how would Drake define the planet Earth physically? I would like to know what is the look of the planet Earth physically. Seems to me that water could not hold on a curved Earth. Can you define the shape of Earth and how the water holds onto it?
How do you hold on to it? You ain't got no seatbelt attaching you to the ground. How do you stay on here? It's called gravity. Most people don't understand it and won't for quite some time. However, the combination of curvature and gravity creates a harmonic hold. It's kind of like a big clamp on a spherical basis that holds everything together. Now, that clamp can be exceeded. We do this when we travel outside our physical limitations on planet Earth with a rocket or something of that nature. The problem you got is real simple. Look at the length of the curve. That's one. Number two, think about gravity again and really consider, nobody knows how gravity works except a couple of ETs that I'm familiar with. So how do you stay on here? It's spinning at over 8,000 miles an hour. You ought to be flung out into space.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
Pretty simple.
I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of grooming and beauty technology does ET use, if any?
They have what's called facial adjustment, where you can, seriously, where you can reconfigure the bone structure, general shape, color,
Wow.
whatever, of anything you like. Eyeballs, hair, whatever. So,
No, that's cool. I like that a lot. That'd be fun to play with.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so will any other advanced cosmetic products be revealed at any point in time?
It's not a product. That's what's funny. It's not something that you paint on your fingernails. There was a movie called The Fifth Element, and if
Oh
you
yeah.
yeah, there's this secretary who takes this little square thing, puts it over her fingernail, pulls it off, and it's a different color, different length, different size, different this, that, and the other thing. It's an application.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Okay, are there friendly spider-like ETs that have space webs?
Yes. Or they're small in number and they have a tendency not to want to be bothered by anybody.
Okay. Then they just referred this to a short film once on Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots, episode Beyond the Aquila Rift.
Yeah.
Okay, that goes on to tell more of that story. I don't know if I want to read that. But just for entertainment, I guess I will. This was
just for entertainment. Okay.
It's about a space captain that wakes up from a hypersleep to find his ship is drastically off course and stationed at a left field checkpoint. During a fling with an old love interest, Greta, he begins to question what's actually happening. Greta eventually drops the facade. It turns out that they're nowhere near human civilization, now stuck in some biomechanical insectoid hellscape where an arachnoid with telepathic powers is creating a comforting reality for him to exist in, presumably until he dies. Several other ships can be seen within the sprawling nest, a literal hive taking in stragglers as it slowly expands in its own bleak corner of space. Doesn't sound like something I'd want to be in.
Well, first of all, you can forget all of that because they were talking about the guy waking up. You don't have to go to sleep to travel quadrillions of miles, or however you want to look at that, hectares, from one point to another. What you need to do is you take space and you bend it. And you
That's so
let
cool.
go of this one and attach to that one. And when it straightens out, you're there. This on average, now I'm talking about traveling the length or width of our, not just our galaxy. There's a bunch of galaxies, but there's one universe of which we are a part. Think about being able to travel several 100 billion light years squared from point A to point B within a matter of about 5 hours. This is where the bending of space-time comes together. You let go of this one, you grab onto that one, and you let it spin back out. You're already 100 billion trillion light years that away.
Wow. How do you do that? I mean, is there some kind of equipment or something that does that?
Come on, if you want to get an idea, I suggest that everybody study the movie Dune.
Oh, yeah, I got to look that up again.
Because Dune covers a whole bunch of shit that everybody here is just now becoming aware of.
Oh, that little story I just told you about, it says here there was another question related to that. And it says, does this exist in our galaxy, and are they benevolent?
Yes.
It exists in our galaxy, and it is benevolent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's shocked that there are exceptions to the so-called I don't know what you'd call it, news that everybody gets or the disclosures everybody gets. There's exceptions to just about all of it. As I said, your imagination is your limit. Okay, if you think ET's going to limit their imagination, you're out of your mind. They're having way too much fun. No evidence, but
Yeah.
What,
We've
man?
been trained to limit our imagination, unfortunately, to
Yeah,
our
the thing about that ET's having, think about taking some kind of crazy looking craft, puts off all kind of crazy light, and buzzing the White House. You want to see them? I don't know if anybody's ever, messed with a hornet's nest, but you want to see some activity, fun and games. You want to see all the Air Force jump in the air and everybody go crazy. There you go. And I fully intend when I get my spaceship to buzz the White House.
Wow. Okay. This is mostly statements, and I'm just going to read through it because then there's a question. There's a question after it. Okay.
Right.
So here it is. And we know we've covered some of this before. An attorney is a member of the bar. Bar equals British Accreditation Registry. As the bar is a foreign corporation, America is occupied by foreign agents. The bar has a monopoly on the legal system, attorneys, judges, and lawmakers. The police are mercenaries working for corporations established by the bar mafia. Oh, and this brings in the state of Arizona was incorporated in 1877, and Arizona joined the Union in 1912. I don't know the relevance of that in that regard, but so no nation can be free if it is occupied by agents of a foreign power. Please ask Drake, how will America rid itself of foreign agents, the bar mafia, imposed by the Crown Corporation, the City of London? That's a big question.
Oh, that's easy to answer.
Oh, good.
There once upon a time was an amendment to the Constitution, and somebody decided to hide it because they were scared of what it would do to them. And it is interesting that the more people dig into it, the more they find that it was not only presented correctly, but also ratified by a majority of the states. And that's called the 13th Amendment. Oops. In other words, all of these people will be in violation of our Constitution. That means they cannot hold any public office of any kind. It can't be a dog catcher even, okay? And all of the inurement that they have derived from the title that they have called Esquire has to be returned to everybody. That's the people who represented, the states, the counties, etc. So then you have the part where one of these esquires decides to get obtuse and wants to argue about it. They can also lose their citizenship and be exiled to some other country. That's how strong the 13th Amendment is.
Wow.
It's the one that will attest to, take care of, and release us from that bondage. What's happening is that it is gaining more and more prominence, respect, and reality as time goes on. More people are researching and looking. They want their freedom just like everybody else does. So they're looking at cutting that apron string on a permanent basis. Pretty simple. Now, we also have a couple of other apron strings tying us to the crown that need to be cut as well. That's in process. So we just have to be patient and wait and see. Okay?
It's such a deep web or deep onion that's full of layers. Peel off. It's up over time.
Well, it's very simple. It's just like the gun laws everybody wants to pass. We got to control guns because they hurt people. Really? I have set mine on the dining room table and ain't hurting nary a soul all day long. So then they want to tell the law-abiding citizen that you don't have Second Amendment rights. Well, anything that anybody passes in terms of attempt to control, be careful with this, gun and gun rights, gun possession and gun rights, is unconstitutional no matter where it is at. Now, here's the fun part. There are several ways to address this in such a manner that you come up with a correct operating procedure and the results you're looking for. If somebody thinks gun laws are the way to go, they need to be sure their brain is engaged before putting mouth into gear. Real simply, you don't close down the nasty sites, whether it's Ku Klux Klan, 8-channel, Gab, whatever. Let them run. Why? Well, you need to put trackers on the individuals that visit these sites, who get radicalized at these sites, who think that a mass shooting is a good idea. Oh, there's way too many Jews. Oh, look at all them Mexicans. Oh my goodness, where's my gun? Well, if you got a tracker on the site, you know the individuals involved, and everybody's like to say, you can't tell that shit. Want to bet? Google, Facebook, and others already have all your information. They know what you drive. They know which leg of underwear you put on first, right or left, color your underwear, all this. They know all this stuff. That means they got your license plate number. That means that they know whether or not you have a gun and all this other stuff. So they need to come up with, quite simply, a tracker system. And why these dinks, in all their wisdom, I'm an elected official. I'm your representative. I'll take care of it, but you're going to have to put your guns up. No assault weapons, no 20-round magazines, no this, no that. Hey, how about stick all that?
Yeah,
Let's track the individual. And then when you do, you need a little bit of legislation in this. And here's what it does. Anybody who knows, anybody who hears, anybody who is associated with, who happens to find things, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but each and every last one of these gun nuts that went out there and killed a bunch of people posted something. That means somebody knew, okay? Let's put forth legislation that makes these people an accessory to the crime. If it's 5 people or 50 who get hurt, killed, whatever, well, make them an accessory. Hopefully you can take the insanity case live. I would like to see that, for the simple fact you need to get inside the dummy's head, find out what's wrong with it, so that other people can be given a shot of immunity from that sort of problem. Okay, the main thing is this. If you know the vehicles available to that person, if you have a good idea as to what kind of gun they got, and you know where they're going, it makes the law enforcement a lot easier. They can stop the insanity case on a friggin' highway, surround him with bulletproof vehicles and say, let us know when you're out of ammo, and then go in there and say, hello, open the door, we'll open it for you. That's what it would make life a lot easier for law-abiding citizens. And there ought to be more people carrying guns. Why do I say that? Because there have been a whole bunch of incidents that come across as it's a flash. Oh, if you don't copy it right the time you find it, it might not be there when you go back. Well, what it stipulates was one guy was carrying an AK-47, all right, had body straps for a whole bunch of other magazines. He's got a 30-round banana clip in his dog, and he's going to the mall. Well, this one guy looks over and says, honey, that don't seem right. I think you need to stand behind this concrete pillar while I take care of business. Mm-hmm. And he went over there. He had to go. He went over there. He said, okay, dog, what do you think you're doing? He said, I'm going to go shoot a bunch of people. I said, no, you're not. And he started to bring that up. And the guy said, boom, dropped him. The police had been called when he got out of the car. He walked a long way across a big old parking lot to get to where he was. And they arrived on the scene within minutes. This guy had already put his gun back up. It don't look like he's doing too well. Did you shoot?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't arrest him.
Yes, I did. My wife's here and my kids are in there playing games at the mall. And I'm going to let a idiot, an insanity case with an AK-47 go in there and shoot everybody? Not happening. Real simple. So, and that's just one of, oh, Lord, I must get hundreds of those. So there you go.
You have these jihadist camps, so the chances of that kind of thing happening are quite possible. You know, if they felt.
If we can catch them before they pull the trigger, fine. If they're got the gun in their hand, bang. Sorry about your shit. Find out where what we need to do is find out where these people are getting these ideas that killing a whole bunch of people is a good idea. If we can find the source, well, the thing is, if we can find the source of it, then we can go over to their house and throw hand grenades at them. I mean, yeah, well, you know, you're going to hate society when we get done. Here, have another hand grenade.
Yeah, I don't understand it at all. It's got to be a form of
it's called insanity. Insanity never makes sense. To include the ideology of the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over and over and expecting different results. Chicago's got some of the strictest gun laws on the planet, and it's Wild West every weekend. How's that working for you? Dad, tell me that your gun laws do something. How many of these crooks pay any attention to the law? Do you know of a crook that has taken a background check? I don't think so. Some people just ain't got the brains got to give a dead titmouse. So, you know, there they go.
Yeah. Well, we also have a problem with the guys that wear badges that have guns and use them inappropriately as well. You know, people in the back and things like that, you know, because it's running away. That just isn't right. And there's more than enough of them that bully people and use their so-called authority inappropriately.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole nother story. How do we, the people, get justice as long as the courts work for the banks?
Well, that's pretty simple. It depends on what you're talking about when you say the courts rule for the banks. If you're talking about a thing called foreclosure, there can be a problem with that. And it's not your problem. It's the other people's problem. There's several things that go into this. First of all, if you live there 3 years, you have more than paid your mortgage because they repackage these things and pump them up and resell them, and they make a ton of money doing that. That's one. And that's kind of difficult. That's convoluted. It's terrible to try to prove that one. But somebody wants to bring you to court for we're gonna foreclose on your property and throw you out in the street. Really? Okay. Go to court. And the first thing you want to ask, I want to see the certified title deed. If you don't have the title deed, let alone certified title deed, then you don't have any right to the property. And no, affidavits are not proof of ownership. Oops. Instructions from a real estate lawyer, are also not proof of ownership. Only the title deed, and preferably a certified title deed. And if they can't come up with a title deed, then you should turn around and say, hey, judge, why are these people allowed to even screw with me? Why am I actually paying them anything for the property? I'm not real sure what's going on here, Your Honor. Can you straighten them out? The judge looked down at you and say, well, okay, here's how it be. Seeing as how they can't prove they own it, you don't have any more payments to be made. Now, this is the fun part. I hereby issue you a clean title. Ooh, no liens, etc.
How many judges would do that, though?
Everyone that you hold a gun to. You put a gun in their head, they get real compliant real quick.
Okay.
There is a way to hold a judge responsible for their actions, but you got to do it through federal court. You have to initiate what's called a constitutional challenge to the judge holding the seat because of misapplication of the law intentionally. Ooh. Well, that takes between 30 and 90 days. Guess what? Judge gets to go flip hamburgers. Sometimes they don't even get paid during that period. I just love it.
Yeah, I would like to see a lot of judges flipping burgers that would serve them right. Okay, this one is kind of on the order of what we've mentioned already, but I'll just do it anyway. Drake, how can police, corporate policy mercenaries be retained to keep the peace when they have no idea of the limits of their authority?
Well, the fun starts just exactly where you said. Limit of authority. Okay. If somebody works for any corporation, they're nothing more than a night watchman with a gun. That's it. They have no more authority over you than a night watchman making sure somebody don't abscond with truckloads of TVs or something from a warehouse. Woo.
Well, they push those limits, believe me. Then it goes on to say, police are mercenaries enforcing British accreditation registry policies. How can the legal system be put right when the attorney, judges, and lawmakers are, I thought we did this already, didn't we?
Just as corrupt as the people that they're trying to protect.
Yeah. Or members of the, went back to the members of the bar. And okay, this next one is, I've told you, or they told me, they've been following Drake for 13 years now, going on 14. Now that's some loyal followers.
Yeah.
There was a time when Drake said, since income taxes and straight labor are illegal, for which most people agree that is correct, that we are going to get all of our paid taxes back in a lump sum. Please ask Drake if this is still true, or has his intel on this already changed? As is usually the case, you hear something good to get you going, then they take it away.
No, you're not going to get a refund. If you do, it won't be a lot. Okay. Secondly, income taxes paid on wages is illegal. And you're going to have to get into a whole bunch of legalistic horse hockey, and I mean up to your eyeballs, in order to get the paperwork necessary to prove that. Once proved, okay, there are certain things that go along with it. One is, if you opt out, you can lose benefits, and benefits are varying. Second thing is that you can also have them come after you for fraud. And you got to be very careful how you go about all this, or you'll have those problems. Have you got a puppy that's decided?
Yes, I was just going to say, can you excuse me a minute? I need to rescue one.
Okay. I love this sort of thing. This is so much fun.
Hear it or not?
If you're lonely, get a dog. Right. I don't think she will.
Yeah. Well, show all the cute little puppy. Isn't he cute?
You need to toss that one out the window. It ain't big enough to do no good.
That was the one that was making all the noise. I didn't know if you could hear it or not, but obviously you could. Okay, Drake, as you have stipulated in the past, are we going back to our illegally collected taxes back, as in back pay, or as we should? If not, why not? Who has the capacity to decide what is right and what is wrong?
Oh my goodness.
They come up with some tough questions for you.
Well, that was a sort of a super duper complex combination question. Yeah. And it was pregnant before it ever got elucidated to me. The taxes on wages is a no. There's a bunch of other things that taxes don't apply to, specifically income taxes. As far as rectifying the situation, as I said, if you get any refund, it's not going to be humongous. You're going to get rich. You're not going to get millions of dollars back if you get anything at all. But once you do this, you can make sure that they don't play that game of collection again. If they do, and this is neat, they're liable to go to jail, among other things. So that's where you sit with that. And who has the capacity to determine and stipulate what is right and what is wrong? Okay, you have varying and in large number belief systems that tell you different things. How to be like this, how to be like that. Why you got to go? Mine is the only way. Well, horse hockey. the basis of all of your moralities, okay, comes from something everybody ignores. It's right in here, and it speaks to you regularly. It's called a conscience. You don't.
Some people don't have one, Drake.
Well, yeah, they do. Everybody's got one, but some people have put it in a foot locker, closed the lid, slammed the lid on its fingers, and locked that mother up. Okay, well,
Oh, that's what it is.
here's what's neat. Everybody that is not listening, and this is going to be really, think about putting truth serum in a water supply in Washington, D.C., and you get the picture.
Oh, my God.
Well, when we transition
Liar.
we transition from 3 to 4, guess what happens?
That's
All the secrets are exposed. Oh my God. You talk about this. You talk about people jumping in the river, jumping out of window. You name it. I mean, there's going to be it's going to be fun. Believe me, guys. The fun is just getting ready to start. We have some cleanup and we got some adjustment and feels like, but it's coming. They don't have a choice.
It'd be hilarious, somebody's talking, and all of a sudden they say all this stuff, and it's stuff that they had been keeping secret and weren't really telling the truth about, and all of a sudden they're all telling the truth, and then the clothes fall off too.
Well, what's going to be fun is this: when they learn financially that you can't borrow your way out of debt, that never has worked well. If you don't believe me, George Carlin did a whole thing about it. So,
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I think we're at, there's only a few more questions. New Zealand is being hammered with 1080 poison. I don't know what that is. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should not be being done. Who's doing it to them?
It says, you mentioned the Rothschilds involved with an attempted New Zealand takeover. There is no known antidote for 1080, so it is poisons everything down from the macro to the micro environment. I have read that the government have taken various animals from the wild for observation. I believe the agenda is to remove the population there. I suspect they have antidotes and will clean up the poisonous 1080 and then repopulate the fauna and flora. Is this what is happening here?
It would be minor if it is happening at all. Secondly, ET does have remedies for those kinds of fun and games. Specifically, the chemicals that can't be. We can't fix it. Well, ET can. Now, think about somebody. Some insanity case in a laboratory came up with this stuff. Okay. Now think about somebody that had already done that 2 million years ago. Hey, we know how to fix that. That's simple. Here, take this little pill, or let's put pixie dust all over this landscape, or whichever it might be. Well, look at the positivity, and they've already said that we're going to be able to clean up the oceans almost immediately upon disclosure and landing and all this other happiness. Okay, well, if they can do that, then any of the other stuff that needs to be attended to. Mm-hmm. We got millions of gallons of bio weapons of differing types and different. Well, it's real simple. Shoot it in the sun. The sun can use, it can use. Yeah, it's kind of like pouring gasoline on a fire. Here you go, eat this, and there won't be nothing left of it, believe me. When it gets done going through that, ain't nothing left. So that's just one example of what can be done. Now, if you want to, you can do the same thing with certain specific types of weaponry. So, there's more than one way.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I hope we get to the point where we don't need weaponry, but at the present time, we still do. Until others.
I like the ETs and their attitude toward things. Okay, poke it like that. It didn't pop. Well, we can fix that and get a big old butcher knife out. Pop! And it popped then.
Okay. Well, I think I have come to the end of the questions we have this week.
Good. Really? My dinner's about ready. I can smell it. Oh, My wife was a bodacious cook.
Well, what perfect timing then. You'll be able to go enjoy a good meal, I'm sure. So we'll call it a day or a week of more information. And
Well, if something breaks, I will notify you and we can do a special show. How's that?
sounds wonderful. We'll do it. Yeah, that would be great. I hope something does break.
I keep pushing, and it's kind of like, immovable object meets the irresistible force. Eventually, something's got to give.
Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you, audience, and thank you, Drake. And we'll see you again next week, or maybe if we have a special show, you'll be ready for that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on. Bye.
Happy to. Bye.